Do it. We're still working these, trying to get this channel carved out here for where the knuckle snapped off, the wood snapped off here. Now I'm trying to just cut it with a razor blade. Trying to get a little straighter cut. At least the wood is cutting out clean. All the wood in here has to be removed, or it won't hold the replacement part. Under normal circumstances, I would work on this in 3 or 4 sessions just to break up the work, because this kind of thing is very fatiguing. But trying to give you a video of what the work is. It's cleaned out, but it's got to be perfectly shaped, and it's not. I don't really have the tool I want to do this. I can come in with this. Poke it. A lot of times with wood that's old, shaping takes a long time. It doesn't really chunk out the way you'd like it to, because the wood doesn't have enough, the piece that broke off in there didn't have enough strength to come out as one piece. It just is disintegrating so badly that it won't really come out in one chunk. But at least I have gotten now to kind of the bottom of the channel that was cut. And fortunately, this dental tool is accurate enough in its scraping to do a pretty good job of preparing the wood to get the exact shape I need, but it has to be exact. to take the shaft again. In other words, all the wood that was in here has to come off. There we go. There we go. That's correct. Removal, right like that. Okay. Now, I have a completely clear channel. Okay, our next job is to try to get this piece off. And I'm inclined to sacrifice this shank a little bit, if I have to get this out. In other words, I just crack the shank to get this piece out. And that's what I'm doing, because I gotta have it. So you see, I'll just damage the shank by cracking it so that I can wiggle this piece out right like that. Okay, I don't need that shank, but I certainly need this. So now I come here and clean it up with the razor blade. Let's see if it goes into the slot. It does. But the slut needs to be enlarged just a little bit, I want it to fit in there snug. There's residue of glue here. It's got to come off. If I had tried to take this knuckle off, like I did the one that was busted off in the main piece, quite possible it would have busted this one too. Let's see if this is starting to work. Sure is. Okay, now that will, with force, I think that'll go in there, but I gotta be careful because I could split this wood if I'm not sure I can get it all the way in. And I want you to be aware that, you know, there's two sides, like the one that the one that's darker should be facing this way, like this, because the articulation is here. So there's a side that works and not. I'm going to go back and reuse this articulating side here that touches that. And I can see that it's just got a little bit of resistance here. I got to be careful too that I have to make sure it will seat, because if it won't seat and I glue it in, then it won't really be seated in its glued position. So I almost have to put it in completely to make sure that it will fit. In other words, if I think it'll fit and then I use glue and it won't, what am I going to do then? I'll be glued on. I'll have everything will be gluey. I've got to make sure that this piece will seat properly in here 100% before I start putting glue in. Good, this will work. Okay, so now let's get some glue. Oh. You don't use normal glue on a piano. You don't use wood glue and you don't use Elmer's glue. You use PVC glue, which will release with moisture and heat. You can cause a lot of problems. So we want the side that's got wear on it here going this way. So this is how we're putting it in. Okay, so we're going to go here. Got some of this. I'm not shy with glue. You know, I mean, I'm going to glue it. Plenty of glue. Come in here, make sure it's in the entire channel. Yeah, it's going to spill over. I'm going to spread it through the entire channel. Then I'm going to come here and make sure this is nice and wet with glue also on both sides. So we are properly prepared. Okay, check our orientation again. The black will go this way. And you'll find that the blue is somewhat of a lubricant when you go to put it in that I'm of course hitting it to make sure that it seats properly. Pressing it hard into here. You do not want to get the glue on the knuckle. And then I'm just going to resurface the knuckle just a little bit. Fine sandpaper. The tough call here was to sacrifice the shaft, but I have a bunch of them and they're not in great shape. All I really wanted was the heads. I didn't want those shafts. I just couldn't take a chance on not getting a clean knuckle. And while I think I could have gotten it out of there, I probably would have done some damage to the lower part of the leather. At least now we're in pretty darn well. I'm just kind of holding it shut here. It certainly will grip when it's in there. I mean, this glue isn't going to let loose. So at this point, I can reshape this a little bit just by squeezing it and getting it in. And now this piece is ready to go back into the piano. And this solves what was a pretty stickly problem, you know. But at least now we have a nice knuckle. I'll make a video of putting it